Hi everyone, today's screencast is going to cover non-communicable diseases. You need to make sure you've got a pen and some paper before we start. Once you have got a pen and some paper, please write down the LO that's at the top of the screen for this screencast. Once you've written down the LO, can you have a go at these retrieval practice questions? They are all questions from B1, from the infection and response topic. Pause the video now, have a go at the questions, and then I'll pop the answers on the screen. Okay, the answers are now on the screen. What I want you to do is mark them in a different colour and make sure that if you've got any of them wrong that you correct your answers so you know where you've gone wrong. Pause the video and mark all your answers for those. Okay, so because we're looking at non-communicable diseases, first we're going to look at the definition of health. So the World Health Organization defines health as the state of complete physical, mental and social well-being. Now, communicable diseases were covered in the previous screencast. They are infectious diseases. They can be caused by viruses, bacteria, protists and fungi, and they're also spread in animals and plants. Two examples of communicable diseases are malaria and measles. This screencast is going to focus on non-communicable diseases. These are diseases that are not caused by infection. They cannot be spread from person to person. Examples are heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and asthma. Non-communicable diseases, or NCDs, can have a significant human and financial cost for individuals, communities, and even on a national and global scale. Non-communicable diseases kill around 40 million people each year. That is about 70% of all deaths globally. Each year, about 15 million people between the age of 30 and 69 die from a non-communicable disease. Over 80% of those deaths occur in low and middle income countries. Cardiovascular diseases account for most of the non-communicable disease deaths. It's about 17.7 million people annually. This is followed by cancers, then respiratory diseases, and then diabetes. The human cost of non-communicable diseases is that someone that suffers with a non-communicable disease might have a lower quality of life. They might have a shorter lifespan. The families of the sufferer are also affected. They have caring responsibilities and they might also experience the loss of that family member. The financial cost is the cost of things like healthcare, research into the disease, awareness campaigns. The sufferer might not be able to work, so they might have reduced income. They might have to pay for personal care. They might also have to pay to have adaptations to their home. They might need to buy specialist equipment like wheelchairs or mobility scooters. And if there's a lot of people in an area that are unable to work due to non-communicable diseases, it can actually impact the economy as well. So there are different factors that can also affect health and increase the chances of getting a non-communicable disease. These can be things that are aspects of a person's lifestyle, like lack of exercise, stress levels, exposure to sunlight, exposure to ionizing radiation, things like X-rays and gamma rays. Also, they can be substances or chemicals that are either taken into a person's body, either in their diet, cigarette smoke, or alcohol as well. They can also be chemicals that are in the environment, so things like air and water pollution, asbestos, ionizing radiation can all increase the risk of developing a non-communicable disease. I've put here the hazards are the potential source of harm, so things like smoking and lack of exercise could potentially cause harm. And the harm is the damage to health or the actual disease that can occur. Risk factors are things that increase the chances of the harm occurring. Many diseases are caused by the interaction of a number of risk factors, so it's not normally just one. what I want you to do now is to have a go at these questions. So pause the video, have a go at the questions, write down your answers. If you need to go back through the video for help with the answers, then you can do that. Use your notes if you've made any, but make sure you're writing down the answers to these questions, and then we're going to mark them in a different colour in a minute. Okay, so for question 1, what is a non-communicable disease? We should have a disease that is not caused by infection, cannot be spread, and examples are heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's and asthma. Again, if you need to pause the video while we're going through the answers, that's fine. Make sure that you are adding to your answers if you haven't got all of the detail. Question 2, describe 2 ways in which non-communicable diseases can be costly. There's the human cost and the financial cost, and I've given some examples of each there as well. What is meant by the term risk factor? It's something that increases the chance of developing a disease. What is a cardiovascular disease? It's a condition affecting the heart or the blood vessels. And state 1 risk factor for type 2 diabetes, obesity. If you need to pause the screencast before we move on to mark your answers, then do that now. Okay. Alcohol is a risk factor for liver disease and also brain damage. Liver disease is caused because the liver actually breaks down the toxins that are in alcohol. Too much alcohol can lead to the first stage of liver disease, and this is when the liver becomes fatty. Eventually, cirrhosis of the liver will develop if you drink too much alcohol, and cirrhosis of the liver is scarring of the liver tissue, which will mean reduced function of the liver. Alcohol can also increase the chance of brain function damage. So alcohol affects the way that nerve cells in the brain work, and the cells then become damaged. The brain mass can also shrink. There are risks of alcohol to unborn babies too. Medical experts are still unsure how much alcohol it's actually safe to drink while pregnant. So pregnant women are advised not to drink any alcohol at all. In the first 3 months of pregnancy, if you drink alcohol, you can increase the risk of miscarriage or premature birth, and heavy drinking during pregnancy can lead to fetal alcohol syndrome. Children with fetal alcohol syndrome often have poor growth, facial abnormalities, and sometimes even learning difficulties too. There are risks of smoking on unborn babies too. Tobacco smoke contains over 4,000 chemicals, and one of these is carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is a toxic gas that reduces the amount of oxygen that can be carried in the blood. So it will reduce the amount of oxygen available to an unborn baby. If you smoke while you are pregnant, you are increasing the risk of miscarriage, premature births, and also sudden infant death syndrome. Smoking is also a risk factor for lung disease. COPD, or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is a group of lung diseases that make it difficult for people to move air into and out of the lungs. 2 examples of COPD are bronchitis. The bronchi and the bronchioles are inflamed or swollen, and excess mucus is produced. And emphysema affects the alveoli. So the walls of the alveoli, you can see here, are broken down. They trap excess air. So COPD narrows the airways and makes it more difficult to get rid of the CO2 that's produced by respiration, and also get the oxygen needed for respiration into the body. Smoking is the main cause of COPD. It's responsible for 9 out of 10 cases. Okay, so again, try and have a go at these questions. Pause the video if you need to go back through the screencast and have a look at the slides for the answers, and that's fine. But pause the video and have a go at these questions now. Okay, so question 1, alcohol can cause damage to the liver because too much alcohol means that the liver becomes fatty. Eventually, cirrhosis or scarring of the liver can develop too, and that would reduce liver function. It's important for pregnant women not to consume alcohol because it can increase the chance of miscarriage and premature birth, and it can also lead to fetal alcohol syndrome. The risks associated with smoking while pregnant are increased risk of miscarriage, premature births, and also sudden infant death syndrome. One example of COPD would be either bronchitis or emphysema, and I've put there the detail of each as well. If you need to pause the screencast while you mark your answers, then do that now. Okay, so smoking is also a risk factor for lung cancer. Lung cancer is one of the most common and most serious types of cancer. There's about 44,500 new cases every year in the UK. Symptoms include a persistent cough, frequent chest infections, coughing up blood, and also breathlessness. The causes, about 85% of cases of lung cancer are linked to smoking. Tobacco smoke contains over 60 toxic chemicals, and some are known to be carcinogenic, which just means cancer causing. So we call them carcinogens. If you smoke more than 25 cigarettes a day, you are 25 times more likely to get lung cancer than someone who has never smoked in their life. But it's important to remember that people who have never smoked in their life can still get lung cancer as well. Because of the risks associated with smoking, cigarettes must now, by law, be sold in plain packaging and also display graphic images and health warnings. If we look at cancer in a little bit more detail, cancer is uncontrolled cell division and growth, and it results in the formation of a tumour. A tumour is just a mass of cells. These can either be benign or malignant. Not all tumours are cancerous. Benign tumours are growths of abnormal cells. You can see it in this image here. They're contained in one area, and they're usually within a membrane that surrounds all of the cells, which you can see here. They don't invade other parts of the body, and they are not cancerous. Benign tumours are not cancerous. They are abnormal cells, but they are contained within a membrane, and they don't invade other parts of the body. Malignant tumours, however, are cancerous. They are growths of abnormal cells as well, but these can invade neighbouring tissues. The cells can actually break off and spread to different parts of the body in the blood, where they'll form secondary tumours. They can be caused by lifestyle and genes as well. What I want you to do now is pause the video, have a go at these questions, and then we will go through the answers, and then we're going to do a quiz at the end just to check your knowledge. So pause the video now, have a go at these questions. Okay, so for question 1, what is the name of the chemicals which are known to cause cancer? They are carcinogens. And then question 2, describe the differences between malignant and benign tumours. So you can pause the video to mark this answer. I've just listed the definitions of each. So malignant tumours and benign tumours are growth of abnormal cells, but malignant tumours are cancerous, benign are not. Benign are contained in one area, usually surrounded by a membrane. They don't invade other parts of the body, whereas malignant tumours do. Okay, so now I'm going to put a series of questions on the screen. I want you to pause the screencast at each question, have a think about your answer, write down whether you think the answer is A, B or C, and then unpause the screencast and you will be able to see which answer is correct. If you do not get the answer correct, then you can go back through the screencast and correct your answers. So pause the screencast now, and then I will pop the answer to the first one on the screen.